This is probably the most complicated circuit that you guys have seen so far, and it's still pretty simple, to be completely honest, in comparison to some of the things that we're going to be seeing in the future. But to date, this is something that hopefully you guys will be able to look at and be able to understand once we've built it. So the first thing I'm always going to do is I'm always going to try to see what components I need. So as I'm looking at our components, I'm noticing that I'm going to need 1, 2, 3 SPDT switches. Notice that both of the inputs are on the left side, which means that we're going to need to rotate those when we get into multisim. We have a power source, which we're going to replace with a VCC. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grounds. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 LEDs. We have 2 OR gates, 2 AND gates, an inverter, and 3 digital probes. So with all of that, let's go ahead and get into the simulation. Before I even start inserting any components, the first thing I'm going to want to do is name my circuit. And since we're on section 127, I'm just going to go ahead and enter 1.2.7. This is the random number generator, and I'm going to create different circuits for different parts of the number generator. So since this is the combinational logic section, I'm going to name it the combinational logic section. And another thing that I'm going to do that just makes things simpler and easier is I'm going to go over the document settings. I'm going to go to the width and length and set them both to 200. It just makes the document bigger and makes it more able to fit more components. I'm also going to get rid of any net labels just to keep things a bit more clean. Now at this point, I can go ahead and start getting my components. So I'm going to grab 3 digitals, which I'm going to just stick right here. Copy. I'm going to grab my 3 SPDT switches, which are located under the switches menu. Looking for the SPDT. I'm going to have to rotate this, so I'm going to press Shift and R twice to rotate. I'm going to add 1, copy that, 2, copy that, 3. I'm going to add my VCC, put that somewhere over just over here. I'm going to find my 2 OR gates, and for those you can go down here to the digital components, select OR, and we're going to select 2 input OR gate. I'll copy that one, put this over here, and then I'm going to also go ahead and go back to the digital components and select my AND gates, again 2 inputs, and we'll put these right here. I'm going to go find the LEDs. I'm going to search for LEDs. These will need to be pointing towards the right. Remember that LEDs are polar, so they do need to be pointed in the correct direction. In this case, since our circuit is flowing from left to right, I'm just going to click and rotate that from left to right. One in the middle, 7 of those. And now we just have to find our ground, and we'll place 8 of these. Also, one easy way to get your ground as well, if you want to get them quicker, is just to press the G key. And ground will show up, which is pretty awesome. So we needed ground for where the circuit originates, and then we'll also need grounds for every single one of those LEDs. So let's just connect this all up. VCC to the top of SPDT. We'll take this one back to VCC as well, this guy back to VCC, and then we'll connect them all to ground too. Ground, bottom, bottom back to ground, bottom back to ground again. Our first switch is going to go to the first input of the OR gate on the top. Our second switch is going to go to the first input of the first AND gate. And our third switch is going to go to the second input of this AND gate. The output of our first gate is going to go to the second input for our gate at the top. Almost forgot that we need an inverter as well. The inverter will go right here, create a junction with the J key, and take the output from switch 3 into the inverter. The inverter's output will go to the second leg of the OR gate at the bottom. This OR gate right here is going to actually need to connect to switch 1, so I'll connect it right up there. The top input of the second gate is just going to come back and connect to that wire, so it's also connected to switch 1. And then switch 2 is also going to be connected to that same gate, so I'll just put that right there. Our digital probes are going to be labeled A, B, and C. A will be connected to the first switch, B will be connected to the second switch, and C is going to be connected all the way down to the third switch before the AND gate here. Okay, so we've got all of our combinational logic gates all wired up properly at this point. Now we just need to go and connect all the LEDs. Let me shift these down a little bit. Output of the first gate is going to go to the first LED. I also realized that I'm in an error when I placed my LEDs where LED 5 is actually in the wrong spot. It needs to be switched with LED 7, so I'll switch those real quick. Also, one thing I forgot as well is we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 resistors. You can use the R key to add resistors if you didn't know that already. And the value of those resistors needs to be 180. We'll take LED 2 back to the second gate. We'll take LED 3 back to the second OR gate. We need to connect LED 7 just before LED 3. We need to connect LED 4 to a spot just before the inverter. LED 5 needs to go back and be connected just before LED 1 and after the first OR gate. And LED 6 needs to be connected just before LED 2. When you're done, just make sure to connect all the LEDs to the resistors and then back to ground, and then you'll be done.